If your team got guaranteed money, tell them call me.
Whoop. Make me say, my.
I done been around the world. Yeah, I was made for this.
Player Performance with J.A. Cavalier.
Welcome to NBA Player Performance on this Wednesday. It is Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. I am your guest host, The Shark, in for J.A. Cavalier. I said it yesterday. J.A., what's going on, bro? Come hang out with us. But speaking of hanging out, we got the prop master in here with me. Luke, what's going on, brother?
I'm ready to roll. We came off a solid day yesterday. You swept 2-0 official plays. I went 3-1, I think, on official free plays. So let's keep making some money. Full slate today. I'm excited.
Yeah, as you said, and as we detailed yesterday and Monday, we have been dealing with a lot of out-of-conference games, which are not rivalry games, not a lot of information. I suggested it yesterday. I wasn't lying. We got 11 games here on this Wednesday, tons of conference games, tons of rematches, rest advantage spots. We have 11 official plays, I believe, on this show. It is NBA Player Performance. Opening it up now. Celtics at Raptors, north of the border, Scotiabank Arena, 7:30 p.m. Luke and I were just discussing this off the air. Talk about polarization. Third matchup of the year. Toronto goes to overtime in Boston, to the surprise of most, and then comes back in Boston and gets beat by 54 most recently. This team's been horrible on the road, great at home, but we're going to the prop master first. R.J. Barrett, local home product playing for the Raptors, over in the points market tonight, 20.5.
We're going over here. I love him to have a big night tonight. So I faded Barrett last time out, which was successful. He had a horrible game. He got in foul trouble, put up 15 points. Tonight I'm backing him. I think it's a perfect bounce back game for him to be aggressive. He averages above this on the season, 22.4. The line's a little bit below because he's playing Boston, and the Raptors are a little bit healthier. However, Emmanuel quickly ruled out. You know what that means if you're a Raptors fan? That means the ball in Scotty Barnes' hand, the ball in RJ Barrett's hands. They're going to run the offense. And I think the public's on the under here because over the last 5 games, he's averaging just 17.5. Odds makers are higher than that. And my favorite point here, I think this is the most important point. Raptors played Boston in last time out. He shot 27 times. I mean, 27 is a ridiculously high shot attempt number. He is comfortable against the Celtics team, at least as comfortable as you can be getting shots up. I think he gets 15 to 20 shot attempts minimum tonight. Should be enough to get him over the 20.5 mark, so I'm taking the over.
Yeah, I totally agree. As I said, this kid grew up in the Toronto area, traded from the Knicks. Really a great trade in terms of both teams, and geographically, he's clearly very comfortable in this region, and he's been playing great ball at home, as have the Raptors. 8 wins at home this year. Only 1 on the road. You want to buy this team at home, but you want to buy Barrett in the points market over 20.5. Speaking of the Knicks, my first official play of this Wednesday, 7 o'clock in Philadelphia, a national game. We're waiting to drop this officially until 5 o'clock, but we will be on it. We want to see if Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid play here on the second night of a back-to-back for the Sixers. But we do love the Knicks tonight, regardless of the rosters. The Knicks are coming in here off really a tough loss on Monday night against Detroit. We took Detroit there. We know when to buy. We know when to sell. That was a 3rd and 4 back-to-back spot for the Knicks off a blowout on Sunday against Milwaukee. Really a terrible spot. But now you get the bounce back. And in the last 2 weeks, the Knicks are exhibiting what we call zigzag. They win, they lose, they win, they lose, they win. It's all over the place. Josh Hart making some comments about how this team needs to get their act together. And I think this is precisely where they will. This is a huge game for the Knicks in this division. Philadelphia dominated the Knicks for the biggest portion, the early portion of Joel Embiid's career. It has reversed since. And I think it's reversed for a couple specific reasons. This team is a lot of competitive dogs, and it's well known as being the Nova Knicks. Brunson, Hart, Bridges, they all went to college in Philadelphia. So they love playing in Philly, And the results have spoken directly to that. 5-1 ATS last 6 at Philadelphia, 2-1 in the postseason, 3-0 in the regular season, including a blowout on November 12th, 111-99. The books like the Knicks there. They were favored on the road for the first time in forever, and they like them even more here at -6. This game speaks to double digits. Philadelphia is in shambles. They're on a back-to-back. Nick Nurse, I said it yesterday. I've been listening to this guy talk. I don't know how he won a title with Toronto. I got to be honest. I really don't like his comments in the media. He seems scattered and lacking precision and focus. Knicks will turn up tonight, 7 o'clock National. Finalizing the line as we go through the day. We will be on them officially. Luke, any thoughts on this game?
I just love the Knicks play here for all the reasons you listed. And I don't have an official play. My lean would be to, and this correlates with what you're saying, to take Joel Embiid under on the PRA. Obviously the guy can go off. He's super talented, but I'm fading him. He's injured. He's not playing a lot of minutes. He's not playing half the game, so he's rusty every time he comes in. So I'd fade him on the PRA line. The only other thing I'd look at as a potential lean, if you can bet steals on your book, I'd take Tyrese Maxey if he's in the game to have at least 2 steals. It's plus money. That is stealing, considering he averages over 2 on the season. And he gets 2 to 5 steals almost every single game. So give me that for plus money as a lean.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree. And of course, Embiid has been in and out of the lineup so frequently. It's hard for this guy to get into a flow. And, we've talked about this numerous times on NBA player performance, but, load management and injuries, it's disruptive. These guys need to play. They need to be on the court. They need to see the ball go in the hoop and just feel their body moving and taking that impact. Great stuff tonight. Take the Knicks and let's dominate. Keeping it moving here. Magic at Bucks, 8 o'clock in Milwaukee. Pfizer Forum officially on the Magic at +6.5. And, I was just talking about Nick Nurse not really having flow with the group. This coach, Jamal Mosley with the Magic, really an underrated coach in this league. Orlando, just a small market, not a lot of national press. This guy really connects with the group. And this is where you want to buy the Magic for a couple reasons. One, Paolo Banchero is back. He missed over 2 months with an oblique injury. Since coming back, 2-0 ATS are the Magic. 9-4 ATS last 13. This really is the mentality of this coach. The Magic have the 2nd defensive rating in the league. They compete with everybody and they bring physicality. And you look at where Milwaukee is on their calendar tonight. 3rd in 4, home, back-to-back. Got crushed in New York on Sunday. We said it last night on this show. Take them for 1.25 units against Sacramento. Now they got to come back and face Orlando in the fatigue spot and against this defense. And this is the 3rd matchup of the year. We love data. We love it in the season. Milwaukee has beaten Orlando twice. Orlando will have peak motivation to win outright for the first time this year. And it couldn't be scripted any better with this rest advantage. And even with Milwaukee having a roster edge due to Orlando injuries and normal rest, these games were still tight. Milwaukee only beat Orlando by 5 at home in the NBA Cup in December. And more recently, last Friday, Milwaukee by 3 on the road in Orlando. Orlando's right there. The games are tight. The line is short. Everything's on Orlando. Take Orlando tonight at +6.5 and let's cash. Luke, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I don't mean to continuously pick a prop lean that correlates with what your take is, but it's sharp. I love the Magic here. And honestly, what amazes me most about their defense is that they've done it without half their starters. Like, they are the 2nd-ranked defense without half their team playing for a lot of the year. No Wagner brothers, no Banchero for most of the year. So if I'm taking anything tonight, it's going to be a small bet. But I'd actually take Lillard under his assist line. And it simply is a numbers play. The books have had him at 7.5 assists the entire year, almost every game, because he averages right at that number. And they moved it down tonight to 6.5. I think that speaks volumes. So I would simply follow the functionality here, follow the value, and take the under on Lillard assists. Small play, small lean.
No, I love it. And, you're talking about line functionality here. The existence of data within the season is our bread and butter. We love this card. Let's keep it moving. Speaking of data, Fourth matchup of the year, Hawks at Bulls, 8 o'clock in Chicago. Taking Chicago at -1.5 here officially for 1 unit. And as I mentioned, this is the fourth matchup of the year. We're going to look into what's going on here. Chicago has pretty much dominated Atlanta this year. Road win in November by 12, 125-113. Home win, the only time they hosted the Hawks this year in mid-November, 136-122. Key point there, same line. So when the books liked Chicago as a small home favorite before, 14-point win. Most recently, the day after Christmas, Chicago at Atlanta. Atlanta actually covered a heavy Atlanta spread, -6.5, 141-133. Crucial point, though, Atlanta had their best scoring performance in one quarter, I believe, in franchise history. Atlanta scored 50 points in the fourth quarter to cover that spread. So what does that tell us? Atlanta needed a historical outlier to beat the Bulls in one quarter. Otherwise, this Chicago team has dominated Atlanta all year. And you look at it in terms of the calendar spot for these teams, both teams are on a back-to-back. Neither team has performed well in this spot. Chicago's 1-5 ATS, second leg back-to-back. I was going through it. I love buying low here. Those 5 non-covers, all as an underdog, all against playoff teams, OKC, Minnesota, Memphis, Orlando, and Indiana. First time favored in this fatigue spot all year. And Atlanta traveling off a huge win against Phoenix last night. Chicago lost to the Pelicans last night. They get to stay at home. Atlanta's got to travel. Lines all over it. Chicago has dominated this year. Take Chicago at 1.5 and let's cash. Luke, any thoughts here?
I'll be real quick with this one. Yesterday, we talked through my official play of Zachary Ricochet under 1.5 made threes. He went 0 for 2 in the game. We cashed that easy. I'm actually going to go there again tonight with a lean simply because he is ice cold shooting the ball. I don't even think he wants to take a lot of threes. He's now cashed the under here in 5 of 6 games, averaging 0.7 made threes per game for a couple weeks now. So I still see the line sitting at 1.5. It's juiced now over -150. Use it in a parlay. Take it straight up. I don't think he makes 2 threes again tonight, so I'm headed with Ricochet under 1.5 made threes as a lean.
Yeah, I like it. And again, it's what we're talking about with Joel Embiid. You know, when these guys see the ball go in the hoop and they get into a flow, they'll shoot. If they don't, it's hard to get off that little inconsistency and the inability to score. I think, you know, for a rookie, obviously, shooting an NBA 3, the physicality of the game, the spacing on the perimeter, I like that under. Let's cash these plays. Let's keep it moving. 8 o'clock, Frost Bank Center in San Antonio. Divisional matchup, first one of the year. Grizzlies at Spurs. Taking the Grizzlies at -2 for 1 unit. This is where you want to continue to buy Memphis. For those of you guys that know Memphis basketball, this team went to the playoffs 3 consecutive years, and then last year completely imploded. Ja Morant, off the court issues, suspended, later injured, moved Marcus Smart, moved Dylan Brooks, other injuries, complete, utter chaos. They have bounced back this year with emphasis, 25-15 straight up, 29-11 ATS. You want to continue to buy this team, and you want to buy low statistically where they are now. They are actually 3-5 straight up last 8. They're going to improve off that small window, poor sample, and they're coming off of a loss in Houston on Monday night, a real tight one, 120-118. They melted it in the fourth quarter. Very well could have won that game. And we love this spot to buy as well statistically. Memphis is 6-1 ATS following an outright road loss. So if they lose on the road, they bounce back. And you look at the Spurs. We bought the Spurs on Monday night at the Lakers, and the Spurs came through with emphasis in the second half, scoring, I believe, 70-plus points in the second half to blow out the Lakers. But here's where you buy, here's where you sell. The Spurs haven't played a home game since January 4th. Elongated road trip, off a heat check second half, got to come out against a division rival who's angry. This is where Memphis is going to come out with emphasis. And final point on this, The only time Memphis was favored on this figure in recent history at San Antonio, they were minus 3.5, November 18th, 2023, early season last year. 12-point win, 120 to 108. Books have a grip on this. Spurs won the most recent matchup in April on the road at minus 6.5. Spurs should be favored in this game. Heavy line Memphis. I think they're going to catch the Spurs napping tonight. I have Memphis to win this game on average by 16 points. Not sure it gets that big. I think double digits are coming. Luke, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I don't have a lot here. The props market in this game is actually pretty sharp. There's not a lot of extra value, but I would lean with Chris Paul over 9.5 points simply because he's actually getting a lot more shot attempts since January. So he's at 9.8 shot attempts per game. That is up from his season average of 7.7, which is actually a fair difference statistically. And over the last three, he's averaging 16 points. So like he's looking to shoot. He's shooting well from three. If anything, I'm leaning towards Chris Paul over 9.5 points. Slight edge there, but nothing substantial in this game for me.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree. And I think that actually is a good thing for our Memphis take. If Chris Paul is scoring the ball, I think that probably means that the Spurs are not playing at their top level here. And really like this. And the market's actually getting steamed towards the Spurs. We don't entirely know why. We don't really pay attention to that. Just a little conversation here. Market steam is a lot of syndicates internationally. They're not really looking at the details we bring you here on NBA player performance. By the Grizzlies, let's dominate. Staying in this window here, another 8 o'clock game in this division. Dallas, New Orleans. We said it yesterday. New Orleans really is a bye team. This team is really incomprehensibly poor at 9-32 straight up. This is a team that has all-stars at 4 of the 5 starting positions. They've just had so many injuries and all sorts of chaos. I honestly think New Orleans might continue this upward movement tonight, but throwing it to Luke for a prop, Daniel Gafford, center for the Mavericks, over 22.5 PRA.
Yeah, so this play I do like. This is an official play for me in this game. And it might sound like a high number for a guy like Daniel Gafford, maybe not a household name. But if you guys saw the Mavs play last night, they were down like 30 right away to the Nuggets. It ended up looking a little closer than it actually was. And starting center Derek Lively for the Mavericks sprained his ankle. He was out for the rest of the game. I would say there's almost 0% chance he plays tonight. And because of that, Gafford's going to get the start. And that's why his value is tonight on his over in the PRA market. Pelicans play poor defense. In 63 games without Derek Lively playing, Gafford puts up about 12 points per game, 8 rebounds per game. Oddsmakers post his PRA line high. I think the public, if you don't watch, might see that and take the under. I'm going over simply on the value here. He should play a lot of minutes as the big man tonight. Gafford over is my official play. And it was 22.5 if you didn't catch it.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. And it's a great point about Lively and whatnot. Of course, Arkansas product here. Young kid, real competitor coming over from the Wizards last year. I was talking about this on another show last year. A lot of my guys, prop guys on other shows, love his overs. He does compete harder than almost anybody on the floor, and that's where he will make his money tonight. Take the over in the PRA. Let's cash. Keeping it moving here. 9 o'clock. That is 7 o'clock Mountain Time. In Denver, Ball Arena, taking the Rockets on the road on the money line at minus 120. And people would probably say, Shark, you're really laying juice with Houston at Denver? Absolutely. This is a team with Ime Udoka, year 2, that is absolutely elite. 26-12 straight up. You guys saw him do this with Boston. Of course, off-the-court transgressions with a female led him to being fired. Joe Mazzulla took over and took him to a title. That's really Ime Udoka's group. And now he's doing it again with the Rockets. And this is where you want to buy the Rockets, in a low point in their statistical calendar here. I said it about Memphis. Very similar stuff here for the Rockets. 3-5 ATS last 8. Hit a little bit of a downturn. This is where they will bounce back. They're also off a non-cover against Memphis. That loss for Memphis the other night was actually a cover. It was minus 2.5. Desmond Bane hit a garbage 3 to cover that for Memphis in the last second of the game. Complete nonsense. But nonetheless, Houston off a non-cover going on the road. This is where you want to buy them. Houston is also in a front-end back-to-back. They play at Sacramento tomorrow night on national TV. And a lot of people would probably think, okay, national game tomorrow night in California. You got to play at altitude. This is your bad spot. Not so much. This team is 5-2 ATS on the front end of a back-to-back. More importantly, they're 5-0 ATS on the front end of a back-to-back if the game is not played on Sunday. And again, this is NBA basketball in a nutshell. Days of the week actually matter. I feel like we're talking to like a kid's camp here, and we're like, okay, guys, Monday you show up, Thursday you relax, Friday's the weekend, Sunday you're off. That's how NBA players play. They don't show up on Sunday. If it's not Sunday, Houston plays great in this spot. And Denver is in a terrible, terrible calendar spot. Denver played last night at Dallas. We thought they might rest their players. They did not. Jamal Murray had his best game of the year, went off for 45, almost 30 in the first half. And now Denver has to come home in a 3rd-and-4 road home back-to-back, played 2 in Dallas, travel fatigue, 1 home game before they travel to Miami on Friday for 2 games in Florida against Miami and Orlando. So you guys think about this. It's something you need to consider. Pro athletes, they make tons of money. They're elite superstars. They're still human beings. You just played a huge game last night. This is your 3rd game in 4 days against an angry, refreshed Houston team. You play 1 game at home, you get right back on a plane, you got to go to Florida. Terrible calendar spot. And if you look at what happened last year in this matchup, it's actually very interesting stuff. Denver was favored -4.5 road, -3.5 road, -10.5 home, -9.5 home. You guys know how strong this is for Houston to be favored after being a 10.5 and a 9.5 point dog in this building last year? This is everything I said. Houston has a great coach, a great group, competitive mentality. It's a terrible spot for Denver. Buy Houston tonight on the money line. I could see double digits developing in this game. Luke, any thoughts on this one?
My thoughts are correlative, of course, because I'm going with on a lean, no official play here. I really like the way that Amen Thompson is playing for Houston. He's had to really step into this group with injuries to Jabari Smith and Tariq Eason. And he's just playing really well. I mean, his numbers are skyrocketing statistically. Last game out, 19 points, 13 rebounds. He's averaging 13 rebounds since January began. And I don't care who's playing. Honestly, if any of those guys come back, it doesn't matter. I'm buying low on Amen Thompson. For those of you that don't know the Thompson brothers, they didn't play in college. They kind of went the route where they played in the overtime elite basketball league. And so this is their 2nd season in the NBA. Both of them are playing really solid hoops. And I'm high on Amen Thompson. So right now you can actually get plus money for his rebound total over 9.5. Or I would go with this PRA line because he can score the ball too against this possibly fatigued Denver team, as you alluded to. So lean, but take anything Amen Thompson I'm a fan of tonight.
I'll say amen to that. Let's dominate. And, going back to the prop master here, 3rd official play of this show on this Wednesday. As I said, we got 11 games. Well, the prop master is here to save us in one of the worst games of the slate. Hornets at Jazz. 8-28 Hornets, 10-28 Jazz. Hornets 2-15 on the road. The Jazz, surprisingly, 3-14 at home. Everybody's terrible in this environment. Nobody's watching this outside of maybe some absolute basketball junkies on League Pass. But Luke is a prop junkie. We love him for it. Looking at Mark Williams in the PRA market, over 23.5.
That is the beauty of these dumpster fire garbage games, bottom feeder NBA hoops. You can still bet on it. We can still make money on it. And I can still be a degenerate. We're here for it. So, but this is actually, if I'm being honest, I did break this play down. It's my favorite free play of the day. So I'm not just joking about it. I love Mark Williams to go over 23.5 PRA. And let me tell you why. If you haven't followed the Hornets, he is finally back healthy, playing normal minutes again, and he looks confident. The guy's a beast out of Duke, and he had his best game of the year last week. His last game out, just dominated against the Suns. He had 24 points, 16 boards, and 4 assists. He's now covered the over on this PRA line in 8 of his last 10 games. That's 80%. And look who he's playing. This Jazz lineup, they're going to be without Lauri Markkanen, no Colin Sexton, no John Collins. I mean, it is almost literally a G League type of lineup that he's facing. I don't see anyone like Drew Eubanks. Walker Kessler, he's okay. Who else is out there? I saw Cody Williams is expected to play more minutes. Micah Potter. Nobody's stopping Mark Williams between any of those guys. I see no chance that he doesn't play a big role tonight. He's going to feast. And lastly, the analytics favor the over here by a good margin. I have him projected for 27.1 PRA tonight. That's 4 stats above the line, so that's good advantage. Again, top free play of the day, Mark Williams over 23.5 PRA. Cash that ticket.
I agree. I think that's just really great stuff. I might get on that one. And, honestly, I've always been a natural contrarian myself. I think it was funny when Luke and I were first doing a show, he had a contrarian play and he said, Chuck, you're going to hate this. And I was like, you don't know me yet. I love contrarian plays, sharp analysis. If you're playing this game, why not get involved? 9 o'clock, make the disaster into an opportunity to dominate. Cash that one. Mark Williams over PRA. My final official play of this show, 10 o'clock, Heat Lakers, crypto.com. Buying the Lakers at -4.5 official. And when you're looking at this game, you're finding really a great spot to buy the Lakers. The Lakers have lost 3 consecutive games. They have not lost 4 consecutive games all year. And interestingly enough, when I bought the Spurs on Monday night to beat the Lakers, I said the same thing about the Spurs. The Spurs had lost 3 in a row. They hadn't lost 4 in a row all year. They hammered the Lakers. Same story here for the home team tonight. And you look at what the Lakers are doing against the Eastern Conference at home. Really interesting stuff. 3-3 ATS at home. But the line has really told us an intelligent story here. They lost a game at Cleveland early season. They came home against Cleveland. Books liked Cleveland more on the road than they did in Cleveland, meaning it was a Cleveland side in the game. And Cleveland did cover at crypto.com. A real nice corollary for tonight's game here. Of course, this is the Southeast Division. The Lakers played a game on December 6th at Atlanta. They did lose the game in overtime, real tight by 2, 134 to 132. Crucial point here in terms of the line. Lakers were +3.5 at Atlanta. They came home on January 3rd, and the line flipped to Lakers -4.5. And the Lakers did blow out Atlanta in a revenge game, 119 to 102. This is the exact same thing. The Lakers got absolutely blown out in Miami on December 4th, 134 to 93. Their worst loss of the year. They had absolutely nothing in that game. Same exact line structure as the Atlanta game. Miami was -3.5 at home. Lakers opened up here at -4 in their home stadium. It suggests the Lakers to win by 10 points. And I just want to speak on where Miami is in terms of their calendar and their psychology. Miami's in the 6th and final game of a 6-game Western trip. They just lost to the Clippers. They've been in LA overnight, 2 nights. This is not LA celebrating right now. This is LA in flames. The city is not in a happy place. The vibes are not great. So historically, when teams play back-to-back games against the Clippers and Lakers, they'd be going out to dinner, they'd be partying, they'd be in the clubs. The energy would be high. It's not a high-energy city right now. And when you're on a 6-game trip, all out of conference at the West, Miami's been all over the country basically for like 2 weeks. The final game is not where you come up in your energy and your effort. It's where you really fatigue and crater down. And speaking of cratering down, it's now reported that Jimmy Butler might be coming back to the Heat, which I think is terrible psychology. Because when he finally left and they thought he was moving on, the group started to get together as the new core and play better. It's basically like if you're breaking up with a girlfriend, you think she's gone, you finally start to move on, and then she comes back and ruins your mojo completely. And the quotes coming out of this situation are honestly terrible. It's basically this idea that Jimmy Butler was really, really angry at the franchise last year for not trading for other players at the trade deadline. So talk about ostracizing the locker room, basically telling all the guys, you guys suck, I wanted different players. So he's coming back, the energy is stale, they're fatigued, back end of a trip. Final point on this, the only other time Miami played a 6-game road trip this season, they did play one that ended at Indianapolis, or Indiana, I should say, on November 17th. And Indiana did beat them 119-110. Same thing I said, 10-point win for the Lakers. Buy it tonight at -4.5. Luke, any prop angles on this one?
I love the take. The ex-girlfriend coming back. That's tough. That's what Jimmy Butler is right now. It's brutal. You're right, though. They're finally playing well, and I don't think this is a good spot. I'm on the Lakers with you in general. Prop-wise, I actually don't have much in this game. I'm not going to force anything. If I had to bet, I know this is not correlating with your play, but I think, the Heat rely so much on Tyler Hero. The only angle I see on this is taking his over on three-pointers made, because the Lakers are a bottom half team at defending the three-point line, and he's taking over 10 threes per game. So I would take his over on threes made, but that's really the only angle I have, and I don't love it. So if you take it, maybe add it in a fun parlay or go low risk on it, because I do think the Lakers come out on top, like you said.
Absolutely. 2 games we don't have officials on, but we do cover every game here on NBA Player Performance. 9:30 in Minnesota. Warriors at Timberwolves. 4th matchup of the year. I cannot say I like this game. It's unfortunate because we do have information. The information is just very inconsistent in this matchup. Books really are clueless in terms of who's going to perform home versus road. It's kind of all over the place. Throwing it to Luke. Luke, I think you have at least one reasonable angle on this game, correct?
Yeah, and it's probably a contrarian play, to be honest. And everyone made jokes to me taking Steph Curry's rebounding under. I would actually fade him on his 3-point line tonight. It's an analytics play. I know he's made 7 in one of the games against the Timberwolves this year, but that's because he took 16 shots. That was really an outlier situation. The value is on Curry under 5.5 made threes. It's just too high of a line, even for the best of all time. I love being contrarian against some of the league's best players because there's so much steam on everybody in the public taking the over on these statistical categories that oftentimes you got to bite your tongue, and that's how you make money, is taking the under when there's value. So again, probably an unpopular opinion, but if anything, I'm going Curry under made threes in this game. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I'll default to you on that. I think the game side, as I mentioned, is really hard to figure out. Minnesota theoretically needs revenge here, needs to improve. But as we've detailed a few times on this show already, tough psychology with Minnesota. Anthony Edwards is trying to find himself as a leader. He's only 23. And, NBA years are very different than regular years in life. 23 versus 28 or 30 is like a total generational gap. And when you have a guy like Rudy Gobert, who's been highly, highly disruptive and enigmatic throughout his entire career with basically everybody, he couldn't get along with Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is like the chillest dude in the league. Like, I would hang out with Donovan Mitchell. Rudy couldn't get along with him. He's not getting along with Edwards. You can just tell it's a clash. And Julius Randle is also a weird psychology. If you guys remember with the Knicks, Julius played really well in the Garden in New York in the COVID year when there were no fans. Fans come back. The average athlete loves fans. They get the energy up. Julius gets heady, can't hit a shot. So you got a guy, and I think he had a psychologist on the sideline last year, like trying to help him out like fluidly to figure it out. So you got a guy who's real heady in Julius. You got a total enigma with Rudy. You got Anthony Edwards talking all sorts of trash. People saying he's the next Jordan. His skill set suggests maybe it is. He's way younger. These guys don't want to be led by a loudmouth 23-year-old. The team's a disaster. The Warriors are hard to figure out as well. Hovering in the middle, a lot of parts. Trade, maybe. Steph doesn't want it. Nobody knows. I'm giving you guys some narrative points on this game because it's a national game and people love it. We don't love it. It's a tough game to handicap, but look with a prop. And staying here, 10:30, last game on the card. Nets, Clippers. Nets off a win last night at Portland. Back-to-back, traveling from Portland to LA. Not ideal travel at all. We think they're probably sitting most of their top players. Top players is a loose term for the Nets. Not a lot of superstars on this team, but heavy line Clippers. I don't know if I can get there with the Clippers. You know, if there was a team that was going to completely tank to a second unit type of G League roster, look no further than James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. But Luke, you were saying before, you think the line speaks to the Clippers. Any thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I leave all the game handicapping to you, Shark, because you're the sharpest shark there is. But I just see no prop value. I've been looking at the analytics all morning. It looks like the numbers can't figure out who the hell's playing for the Nets, like we mentioned. They could sit the guys like Cam Johnson and others. And so, yeah, maybe their backups have value, but I don't know that right now. So if anything, I'm betting on this game. I would actually take the Clippers probably in like a teaser situation, or you could lay the 14.5. I think the line tells you everything. No one wants to lay that many points in the NBA. And this is one of the gross situations that I'll admit I think I will. But again, not a game we love. It's just hard to follow.
Yeah, and you know, this reminds me of an NFL game where you see a heavy favorite and a low total, which speaks to basically the underdog scoring no points. The total in this game is only 213.5. So it basically means that Brooklyn's going to score like 85 points tonight. I think team total under Brooklyn is actually a reasonable look. Not officially, don't love the game, but if you guys want to gamble on this game, we got an official on the Hornets Jazz. We might as well put some money on this game, at least for some fun. Turn on NBA TV, be an NBA junkie with us, and let's dominate. That's the show for today. 36 fast minutes in the books. I would challenge anybody to find a show that is this data-packed and this fast. It is NBA Player Performance, Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. For J.A. Cavalier, I am the Shark, and it is Luke Shuey. Tons of officials on this card. Knicks -6, Magic +6.5, Memphis -2, Chicago -1.5, Houston on the money line, Lakers -4.5. Luke, 3 props. RJ Barrett over 20.5 points. Daniel Gafford over PRA 22.5, and Mark Williams PRA over 23.5. Please bet responsibly. Drop comments and likes. It helps us get into the algorithm. I will interact with you. Luke is giving some great commentary in the prop chat yesterday. We hit that one, Evan Mobley over. We appreciate you guys immensely, sending you great vibes across the world. And of course, in LA, stay strong. Things will get better. Stay in the moment, be strong, be fast, be intelligent, be disciplined. Let's cash. Signing out for Jay Cavalier. It is the Shark, Luke Shuey. Let's dominate.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort. Suffocation, no breathing. Don't give a fuck if I cut my arm.